Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu Honors video. In the morning these videos come, in the evening the MCQ lessons they come, and both the lessons you need to follow. And today's lesson is huge, so we will not waste our time. In 23rd of October it is. These issues are coming on daily basis both in Hindi and English language, and same with the evening lessons. Extremely important these videos are. 70% off is going on all these courses, and it will be available till 30th of October. So take advantage of the situation, and 159 rupees per month is the price for paid platform. 3 important faculties and their videos are available there, and Pocket News app is trending on Google Play. You can download that. Regarding these courses, the description you will get below the video. You can call on these numbers. These 2 numbers are given. All the issues regarding these queries, confusions, payments, you can ask here, and the chat section is also available on this website address. Telegram channel is given on this Facebook group there, and you can send me a request and you can get the PDF on the Telegram channel there. You can follow me on Instagram too, and some words that I found today, use them into sentences. First issue is regarding a very important and controversial issue, the issue of privacy and the issue of security, sovereignty and integrity of the nation. Both are deep concerns. Facebook went with a petition to Supreme Court, and they wanted to settle this issue once and for all, because government was pushing to link the Aadhaar with their social media platforms. So Facebook said that we won't be able to maintain the privacy issue there, because the government of India is pushing for this issue, and they say there are concerns of sovereignty and the security of the nation. So terrorists cannot claim privacy. This statement is very correct. Terrorists cannot claim privacy, but how to decide about terrorist? And there are vague definitions there. Even in the UAPA bill, they could be given a label of terrorist, and later the charge will go on and the appeal will be there within 45 days, and it will be there with MHA, and the issue extends there. Until that time, whether the privacy issue can be maintained there or not. So here, this move by the government, this is sweeping all the issues and the deep concern of the sovereignty and the security of the nation. That's of prime importance. But privacy and the right to privacy, which is a fundamental right and which was upheld by the Supreme Court, that's also equally important. So how to tackle with that, and why these things are going to Supreme Court? You see, this is not as simple as that. It's a very complex issue. Many concerns we need to see here, because this is a perfect dilemma, and security is something that we cannot compromise, but there can be cases of misuses, and the misuses were reported in the past. And you see, today the IT section and the section 69 IT Act and section 69(1) of it says that Parliament empowered government to interpret information. We know these messages are encrypted, where we are messaging to someone. When that will reach to someone, then it will be decrypted. So in between, nobody can decode that. This is the case of encryption. Server is there in their respective countries, like in America, Facebook, WhatsApp servers are there. So the data is available there. Intermediaries, these are the intermediaries, Facebook, WhatsApp and Messenger, these are the intermediaries. Government and government's advocate, actually the Attorney General, he interprets this issue in the favor of government. As we read the first line, that Parliament empowered government through section 69(1) of the IT Act to intercept information. But he adds another one here. He says intermediaries cannot say, they cannot allow decryption there. But the other advocate, he says the section only allows the government to lawfully decrypt information and does not entail any obligation on the part of the social intermediary concerns. Means the data is available on the other device, then the decryption will be allowed, and it will be a lawful decryption. So in both these issues, again this dilemma is prevailed, because do we consider the intention of the government totally for these reasons, for the recognition of terrorists and other issues like the fake informations and dangerous informations, provocations, to catch all these crimes? the government's intention is working solely for that, or we should consider the probability of the misuses too. That's why the court is gonna see this issue. So now the first paragraph, Supreme Court has decided to examine whether social media intermediaries such as Facebook and WhatsApp should facilitate the state to access encrypted and private conversations of citizens and purportedly to fight crime and terror. So that the court will see. Superficially, if you allow these sweeping arguments, sweeping opinions, and a generalized system of thought, then it seems like what is the problem with that, and why we should not allow the government there? Where is the doubt of question of doubt there? Because it is the case of sovereignty of the nation, but the misuses are a problem, because if they are allowed for private conversations, then private conversations can lead to any person's privacy, and there, if some misuses, if some corruption, if some kind of excess that happens, and in the past many of these things they have been reported from all the governments there, so that's why it is not that much wise a decision to allow government that much authority. But now in this case, and the times are also changing, challenges are huge, and social media is heavily misused, so that's why the government's claim is also genuine here. So both the concerns equally important, equally justified. How they are going to decide about that, we have to see. Important for GS paper 2, and you can write a mains question on that how to solve this dilemma. Very important one. Here you can see Mr. Venugopal, what he said. He said Parliament had empowered the government through Section 61 of the Information Technology Act to lawfully intercept, monitor and decrypt information through a computer resource if satisfied. Now the grounds, it is necessary or expedient to do so in the interest of sovereignty or integrity of the nation, defense of the nation, security of the state, friendly relation with foreign country, public order, or for preventing incitement to the commission of any cognizable offense or for investigation of any offense. So this definition may prove to be very vague also, and when they add some issues like being anti-national, then these things can be really problematic, because there are political vendettas in this country. Suppose there is a case of corruption and the authorities, they compromised their work and they made available some of the conversations of a leader of some opposition party. So that can be a serious issue of barge into somebody's privacy. So that cannot be justified. So that's why these kind of concerns are really huge, and that's why Supreme Court's responsibility is very unique and important here. Next issue, the America's stand on the 370 decision of India. You see, in Congress also this issue is being discussed, US Congress, and now a former envoy from US who served in India from 2009 to 11. His name is Timothy Romer, and he is visiting India right now, and an important delegation that came from US for US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, where businessmen and diplomats are there. He said that we respect India's ability to resolve the issue of Kashmir bilaterally with Pakistan, but India also needs to recognize that members of Congress will express our common interest on human rights just as India expresses its interest there. So fingers are pointed and issues are sensitive in a democratic nation. This much long curve, and there is uncertainty over that, and so many issues were there and they are continuing. That's why many questions are arising, and more the time is taken for these curves, more the questions will appear, and more grounds will be there for the groups, societies, NGOs, and now the international community that some human rights cases can be there. And it's already a very sensitive issue, very sensitive area, and a lot has been there in the past, in the history, and anything problematic should not be there, because in many countries they have observed many of these kind of situations where some excesses were done and issues of human rights, they were extremely important. That's why India's concern is becoming huge for that, and we support our government. People support the government there. Government is totally stunned on this decision, and they say that it will bring the best of the opportunity and the best of the future for Kashmir people in the future. But right now these controls are there. So that's the situation, and with ongoing situation, Mr. S. Jaishankar, our External Affairs Minister, a former diplomat, he even blamed the English liberal media. He said that they are totally biased and these are the biggest obstacle in explaining India's situation internationally. So that's why these are huge concerns. So internationally situations are always different. We cannot manage the media there, and media is not committed to any specific government there. There can be influences. That is also possible. This is possible that the Western media is biased against India. This is also a possibility. But this is also a possibility that they are reporting truly. So both the possibilities are there. But we have our own sovereign decision making, and it is our own authority on our issues and our boundary. So that's why there is no question of being doubtful here. But internationally we need to manage a lot of issues. Okay, so important for GS paper 2 especially. Next issue, Ayodhya Deepotsav given state fair tag. The very famous Deepotsav, which has international recognition. Last year the festival showcased the Korean connection to the town. The Korean first lady was here, and now this is given the status of state fair. So instead of tourism department, district magistrate of Ayodhya, he will be planning for this issue. And you must remember here that section 144 is going on of CRPC in Ayodhya region till December 10, so that a decision will be there peacefully. And one issue that must be highlighted, that 5.5 lakh lamps will be lit there, and a cost of 133 crore rupees will be incurred on that. So 133 crore rupees on a festival, how much justified this issue is, although it is the symbol of our spirituality and the religion, an extremely important religion. This is one of the most important thing for whole country. There is no doubt about the importance of it, but we have always lack of funds for crucial things. Hunger index, we are the worst performers there, and the poverty issues, payment to the laborers, payment to farmers, these always these things are controversial. But we do not have any lack of fund for festivals, celebrations, the statues, and these kind of things always. So anywhere, any religion, any festivity, whether it belongs to Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, these things are always spiritual, and the celebration is extremely important. But we need to assess these things, and we need to compare those spendings with some very, very crucial needs there. So that's why that's the issue. Because if somewhere people are struggling with their lives and somebody is burning crackers there, then always this issue is very unjustified. But we need to see how they went with it, and the upcoming decision is going to be the most important one. And I always say religion and spirituality is the individual subject, and we should keep it individual. It doesn't matter which religion it is, which faith it is, it must be individualistic and personal. When it becomes collective, when it becomes community based, when it becomes very much open, then the politics starts over it, and then politics sidelines all crucial issues. Okay, so we are not criticizing anything here. Please do not misinterpret this explanation. We are just concerned about the most crucial aspects, the dire needs there, and where always lack of funds we find there. But these kind of celebrations or statues, they never finding any dearth of money. IAF, Indian Air Force, carries out twin firings of BrahMos, the supersonic missile, the fastest supersonic cruise missile in the world, developed as a joint venture between the Russian NPO Mashinostronika and India's DRDO, based on P-800 Onyx cruise missiles of Russia, Brahmaputra River of India, Moscow of Russia. So it's a portmanteau, the important nomenclature of it, BrahMos, and world's fastest anti-ship cruise missile, which is in operation. This was tested here. The surface-to-surface missile test were there, that was conducted, and the air-launched variant of BrahMos that appeared in 2012, and the land-launched and ship-launched versions are already there in service. Submarine-launched and air-launched, these tests are going on, and the next version, BrahMos 2, will also come, and that would be a hypersonic version. The speed is Mach 728. 1 Mach is equal to the speed of sound, 333 meters per second, and more than that, these are supersonic, and Mach 5, above 5, these are hypersonic, and less than 1, it is subsonic. So BrahMos missile, a cruise missile. There's a difference between the cruise missile and the ballistic missile. If you see, this is the ground there, then ballistic goes like that. The ranges are huge in thousands, and cruise missiles, they go like that. They cruise through the air, and they are very near to surface, and they can be controlled. Next issue. This data is regarding the NCRB publication and the data of crime report that is now available after 2 years delay. So we will club it with the another article which came today, and very crucial details are there. So first we will take this issue. Turkey, Russia strike a deal on Syria. The joint statement they have released there, and as I told you, in the northern Syrian part, there was a security area that Turkey was proposing, and they said that we will protect this area under us. Now Russia and Turkish forces, they will be pushing YPGs out of it, and YPG and these Syrian Democratic forces, they were supported by America, and yesterday I told you that Russia will totally jump in, and it will be there with Turkey in this race, because always it opposes America there. So although ISIS was a major power against humanity, and Russia, America, they both countries were involved in the Syrian strikes, but the sides were different. Russia was in support of Syrian government there, Bashar al-Assad's government, and America supported the rebel forces there, and these Kurds were given trainings and weapons by America, and they fought this important war against ISIS. So Kurds were the major power against ISIS and their decimation. But now when America's troops are withdrawing, then Kurds are left alone, and Turkish people who consider them as terrorists, they are attacking them. So some restraint was put there after the American threat there, and now Russia, Mr. Putin, he was meeting with Mr. Erdogan, and yesterday they released a statement regarding that, and they said that troops will jointly patrol a narrow strip of land in a safe zone, and that was something that Ankara long sought in northeastern Syria. So that's important, and they say that it will be in favor of the Syrian people, and the area will be stabilized here, and no further problem will be there. But we have to see in what direction these all things will move. So important for GS paper 2. Next issue, Jagmeet Singh emerges as a kingmaker. This is the issue of Canadian election, and in Canada, Justin Trudeau wins again, but he loses majority there. 338 seats were there. He needed the magic number of 170, but he won 157 seats, and now the support will be needed. The opposition, the Conservative party, that secured 121 seats, but the NDP, New Democratic Party, which was floated by Indian origin Canadian politician Jagmeet Singh, now it's a major force there, and it is going to be a kingmaker there. So that shows a huge thing about India. You know, the unique situation in Canada, that more than 50% people in Canada are Indians. Means today they are Canadians, but they are of Indian origin. So the numbers for Indians, they are more than the native Canadians there, and that's unique, and that's why these signs are there, and now they are kingmakers. Their parties are dominating the situation there, because Trudeau needs support, and it can be impossible without the Jagmeet Singh's new Democratic Party, which wins 24 seats there. So that's the important issue. Next, Innovation Index. I explained this issue in the evening lesson regarding the India specific India Innovation Index I told you, and the Global Innovation Index. I explained to you this issue 2 times in the past, in last week's evening lessons, and India is ranked 52nd among 129 nations in the Global Innovation Index in 2019. This is published every year by Cornell University InCERT and World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. It was started by InCERT and World Business in 2007. Data derived from World Bank, World Economic Forum, and ITU. Okay, so WEF is involved, but directly it is published by InCERT, Cornell University, and WIPO. And innovation is the area. It helps these investors there. Innovation framework has 2 main dimensions: enablers and performance. Enablers, that has human capital, investment, business environment, and performance has knowledge output, knowledge diffusion. So that's the issue. And you can see Karnataka top the list there, as we explained this issue in much detail. And India's score is not satisfactory. We are 3rd in the BRICS category, and our score is 52. Chinese score is 14. South Africa's score is 51. So these are important issues. Now we will discuss the clubbed article there, the NCRB data. After a delay of 2 years, the crime data is available for 2017 year. This is the end of 2019, and the data of 2017 is coming. Why this was delayed? Because government officials said that West Bengal government and Bihar government, for their lackadaisical response in sending data, we needed some new subheads there, and those were hate crimes, mob lynching, Kha Panchayat killings, murder by influential people, and anti-national elements. So they wanted to bring these new subheads, and the West Bengal and Bihar governments, they were not complying there, and due to that it was delayed. So this was the statement by government officials a few months back. Now, shockingly, and this is the hypocrisy that has well exposed now, that all these subheads, except from these anti-national elements, all these are missing. They do not produce any mob lynching data, any Kha Panchayat killing data, any murders by influential people data, and the anti-national elements, the issues of insurgency and these crime against state and all, these all things are well reflected in this index. And with the help of it, government is now saying that the crime against state, they are increasing. That's why we need to capture on some freedoms, on some privacy issues, and this is well defined by the NCRB data. But what they say about these important subheads, about the mob lynching, about the Kha Panchayat killings, and about these murders, government said that these data are not reliable. This is really a laughable issue, where they accept half the part of the report by the same institution, and the half the part they do not see reliable there. That's really funny, because mob lynchings were reported with video evidences, and government said that these were all propagandas against government, and these data are not reliable, and the data, they are totally missing in this NCRB report. First, government said that separate law will be needed after Supreme Court scolded the central government a lot about that issue, and Supreme Court said that bring a law regarding that. But government till date has not brought any specific anti-lynching law there, and they said that we will tackle this issue efficiently, but how, we don't know. And hate crimes are certainly on a rise, and in 17 year, specifically 15, 16, 17, a lot of crimes were there, and those many of them were hate crimes, mob lynching cases, but their data, that doesn't appear here. Crime against scheduled caste, that went up by 13%. Crime against women, that increased by 6%. Significant variance is there in case registration of serious crimes. That's also a huge problem. Another drawback, they consider the 2001 census to calculate crimes there, and instead of this 2011 data. They consider 2001 data. Only for the metropolitan cities they consider the latest census, and that is also 8 years old. So that's why these concerns are there. Why this is a huge problem? Because as they say, any government can come, but they should not play with the statistics there, because that is the prime support for the policy making. Without the proper data, without the information, without the crime data, you cannot form a proper policy there. So this is a huge concern, and they must reveal all the information, and this is totally unacceptable that half of the data is reliable, where you can justify your excesses, and other data which is gonna embarrass you, that you do not reveal there. So some things are very much apparent, and there the criticism is also justified. Some good things are also there. We must appreciate that. What are those? Like the online applications and the online FIR system, that is very nice there in the areas like Delhi, where higher registrations are there, and higher filing of rape complaints were also reported. So that means crimes were happening, but higher filings of the complaints, that's really good. And this will totally help in the policy making there, because the data, they tell a lot about these situations where area wise, group wise, and administration wise, we need to make changes in the policies, and according to these data we make policies. If the data is missing, what we are going to do, how we are going to proceed with that situation, and that means this is clearly a problem. So the biggest question arises, if the government is serious about tackling them effectively or not. So that's the issue. And the data that we left there, here government says that report cites 51 cases of sedition, 901 under UAPA, and the crime against state, they are rising. From Haryana, more than 2500 cases were there. From Uttar Pradesh, from Tamil Nadu, higher cases were there. So government says that these things are apparent, and issues like left-wing extremism and cyber crimes, jihadi terrorist issues, left-wing extremism, and northeast insurgency, and especially under the subhead of anti-national elements, these things are rising. So the security of the state is under a lot of threat, and that's why we need to take harsh steps there. So this is how very easily they legitimize these encroachments on privacy and all. And the Aadhaar issue is totally relevant to this issue. But you see, some things are really problematic. Security cannot be compromised in the end, and the sovereignty and the security is of prime importance. But when you hide those crucial data of mob lynching, khap killings and all, then serious questions are raised, and the intention is also suspicious there. Okay, and another article where some financial issues are there between the center and the states, these things are again telling about the centralizing tendency and the excesses by the center today. So these things collectively are really not appropriate, and some things need some changes there, and some data is a must. Cyber stalking cases, they are also rising. So there is a data regarding that also. And what government said regarding that, Union Home Ministry said on Tuesday that data received by NCRB on certain crimes like lynching, attacks on journalists, they were unreliable, and their definitions are also prone to misinterpretation. Many things are misinterpreted. Even the anti-national level, that is the highest controversial issue, that is the most misinterpreted issues. The cases in the UAPA, these are also very much vague there. So government should also be concerned about those situations, so that any innocent is not victimized there, and the real offender is behind the bars, and there is a action against that person. And the people who are killing with their influence, khap panchayats, these are the menace of the society, and especially in those areas, very sensitive areas where these kind of killings are a norm. And the mob lynching now, these are also security to the society and the nation. They must be concerned about these things also. Now the article regarding the India and China issue, the border border management issue. Zorawar Daulat Singh, important article for GS paper 2, he says that this informal summit that happened, that concluded, many issues were there, and we will seek a fair and reasonable solution to the border issue that is acceptable to the both sides. That was said there. Now, if we really want to solve this situation, if really Delhi and Beijing, they want to go on this mutual path, then they need to see the history there. In 2005, it was a very reliable solution. The political parameters were taken there and guiding principles were established for settlement of India-China boundary question. This agreement was a ray of light in an otherwise dim process which was started in 1981. So this was a good step there, and we need to take it forward if we are really serious about that. Here we need to see the past there. On the northern borders, what British people did when the threat was there from Russia, that was the Soviet Union at that time. So when the threat was there from north, then they tried to put this responsibility on Chinese people by putting the boundary near Xinjiang province. They wanted to shift these threats. When the threat was not there, then they claimed about the border east to Karakoram in their favor. So there was a lot of confusion. And about the Tibet region, they divided it in zones. They said that autonomous outer Tibet, that would eventually fall under its sway, means under the British control, and the inner Tibet was intended to stay with China's fold. So that was something unique. Why there was no issue regarding that? Because China was very weak at that time. But later the zonal division of Tibet, that never materialized, and today till date it is the very controversial issue. The Tibetan people, they demand autonomy, total autonomy there, and they do not want to go with China. But the Chinese authority is certainly there, and it is the autonomous region. Now it is instructive that China's principal concern a century ago was not the precise boundary dispute between Tibet and India, but the borders and the political relationship between Tibet and China. That was way more important, and that's why when we provided shelter to Dalai Lama in 1959, only on that issue the whole war that started between India and China in 1962. So the Dalai Lama issue was very, very sensitive to China, and the political relationship between Tibet and China is very important. So that's why at that time the border issue was not solved, and the political problem still remains. Anyhow, McMahon Line in 1914 became the border between India and Tibet. Okay, and it extends to western border in the Kashmir region and the eastern part of it where Arunachal Pradesh is there. So the controversy is there on both the sides. On the western sector, the problem is bigger. You see the Simla Conference of British India for China and Tibet that happened there in 1914. According to that, McMahon Line was created. But you see, the fluid British approach, fluid means it was not fixed. This sector was shaped by geopolitical goals of the empire and was never envisaged to meet the basic requirements of sovereign nation state, because Britishers were not caring about this issue of a nation there. They were the exploiters there. They wanted to extend their own claims there. So according to that, they made adjustments and they never decided these things. Net result was that in 1947, no definite boundary line to the east of Karakoram Pass existed, and it was there on the official 1950 map of India. This confusion remained there. You can see it is the 1950 map, and here these dotted boundaries are there. Although it's the official region of Kashmir and it is under us, but the boundaries were dotted because these were controversies. And the eastern Ladakh region where this Aksai chain is there, that remained controversial. And one unique issue was there. We can talk about history in any way today because those people are not there to justify. So it is very easy, and it is the easiest to discuss about Nehru's moves or any other person's decision there. But situations were very complex at that time. Nehru took these international relations in a very, very positive manner. He was very much emotional about those issues because the country saw the partition there and the problems were there. We did not want to go in any group there. So he decided these things in a very positive manner, as he started with Panchsheel and the Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai dialogue he gave there, and the non-alignment movement was also there. So he never became strict about those issues, and that's why a strict deal was not signed there, and the border issue was mostly excluded from their conversations when these conversations were there between the Premier Zhou Enlai of China and Nehruji in these 2 years between 54 to 56. So New Delhi's underlying assumption was that highlighting the border issue would reopen the whole question and provide the Chinese with an opportunity to make all kinds of claims. The problem was created by Britishers, and it was very complex to deal with it, and the Nehru government found it very, very complex and difficult. So they needed to take many harsh decisions there, but they could not take it. And sorry, this map is wrong here, this is not related to it. And in December 56, the eastern section of the border was raised because the Sino-Burmese border that came into controversy, and the eastern part where Arunachal Pradesh is there. So at that time, Zhou Enlai, the Premier of China, had then remarked that McMahon Line was the accomplished fact, and both agreed that minor border problems, they must be settled very soon. So these issues, the western and eastern problems, he said that these are minor border problems, we must resolve them. So they held these talks to resolve these minor disputes, but these never materialized. Why? Because China said that you can take the eastern part there of Arunachal Pradesh, we will leave the claim there and give us the Aksai Chin region. So Nehru became emotional about this issue, and the domestic opposition was also huge at that time. So he was under pressure there also. So he said that we will not horse trade on this issue. It is not something that you take this and we will keep this. This will not go like that. And they left this matter undecided. And later, when this Dalai Lama drama that erupted, and later we went for these wars, and after that we always saw each other with the deep suspicion and mistrust. So the problems escalated, and we could never solve this issue. Okay, so it was this crucial juncture of the crisis when Nehru, along with most of the Indian leadership, it was not only the Nehru, most of the Indian leadership, they erred, means they made a mistake there. This was something that they had to solve at that time, whatever it took, but they emphasized more on emotions, and they wanted to keep things very positive, and they did not want to go in any kind of huge controversy there. Controversy happened when Dalai Lama was given the shelter, and then we had to accept that huge defeat there. So that was the problem. Okay, and as I told you, the horse trading, Nehru did not accept there, and Nehru's response to Zhou Enlai's suggestion on both sides, renouncing all the territorial claims, is also instructive. Means when in 1960, Zhou Enlai suggests that both sides should renounce all the territorial claims, Nehru said our accepting things as they are would mean that basically there is no dispute, and the question ends there, and that we are unable to do it. So the Aksai Chin area was left ambiguous there, and it was best left ambiguous at that time. This was something as a situation. So Nehru himself admitted it is a matter for argument which part belongs to us and which parts belongs to somebody else. It is not clear. So in a way, finally they left it undecided and ambiguous. In retrospect, the inability of the Indian side to countenance the swap principle was a missed opportunity. Writer said that it was a missed opportunity, and they had to settle this issue for future. And these problems remained there. So this was the article. Next article is regarding a very crucial issue of the cooperative federalism there and the phenomena of union of states. You see, when the state is created, then the biggest power is the economic and financial power. In India, it is not federalism, it is not a centralized nation, although the central bias is there. But now the present government a huge allegation is there that they are pushing a lot of centralization there, and step by step they are encroaching on the authority of the states also, and they are centralizing this whole system with the ideas like one nation, one tax, one nation, one election, and other things where totally unifying phenomena they are giving there. Although the nationalism is an important factor and the country must be united, but states, they have their autonomy, they have their state list issues, and this is something which is respectful. Means this whole country, this is a very diverse country. We established this country as a union of states because this was the best way. We went with a mixed issue of quasi federalism there. Means federalism aspects are also there, centralizing aspects are also there. We have union list, state list, and concurrent list, and union has bigger number of subjects. So this was the thing. But here the writer Praveen Chakravarti, he talks about the issue that Camel's nose syndrome. What is that? Means when camel permits a small entry into his nose, then suddenly it pushes out this finger or any obstacle with its force. Means you do not meddle in somebody's autonomy or authority there. Otherwise, a forceful push will be throwing you out. Here in the case of states and the center, you see states, they do not have this power to impose income tax for the people. Direct tax they cannot apply there. So it is the power of center only. But the indirect taxes, they were there, like the sales tax and other important taxes were there, and they became problematic too. But they had their own sources of income. Means the states had their sources of income. But now the one nation one tax, the GST, it came. So after a seemingly innocuous entry through the GST by the center into territory of taxation powers of states, it is now arming itself to elbow the states and elbowing them out entirely of its fiscal powers. That is something really happening, and in the disguise of this nationalism aspect and one nation aspect, dangerous developments are happening in this country. Writer said that citizens of every state elect their government independently. So the prime responsibility of such elected government is efficiently governance and accountability to its voters. Means people choose them and people give them authority to run the state, and the finances must be there with them so that things can be possible, and the power to taxes, that must be there as it is there with the center. But now the power is all lying to the center, and center is encroaching on all the financial issues of the state. Over the past 5 years, especially these last 5 years, democratically elected state governments have been stripped of almost all the powers of the taxation, and now there is even talks of limiting expenditure powers of the state, and this is really a dangerous development. This way this country cannot be run. Here you see the example of midday meal scheme. The midday meal scheme started from Tamil Nadu, and it was not adopted by the center for a very long time after that. In 1982, M.G. Ramachandran was the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. He wanted to bring a new scheme of midday meal for the school kids. 52,000 government schools were there, 70 lakh kids were there. They needed extra 150 crore rupees. State did not have them. Then government decided to levy an additional sales tax for the Tamil Nadu people, and they went with it, and the money was arranged. And the consequence is that within 30 years, Tamil Nadu's literacy rate went from 54% to 83%. That's a huge development. So this scheme was a major contributor to that, and this was so important a scheme that whole India is adopting this scheme, and it is going on in India. So if today MGR would have been there, and if he would have wanted this scheme, this much money and this tax to be imposed on the people, then it is not allowed, and he would have go to Delhi again and again, and maybe his proposal would be denied there because of the extreme centralizing tendencies today. So that's why, that's the problem. Typically more than 80% of the government's revenue, they come from taxes, and today states, they do not have any important power apart from agriculture taxes there. Okay, so that's the problem. So the mischievous disguise of cooperative federalism is working there, and states lost their sole powers to levy indirect taxes with the GST, and now this disguise is being justified in the name of cooperative federalism, in the name of nationalism. States are losing their authority with a very fast pace, and with planned steps central government is moving. As it says it clearly that center putting its nose in the tent, now stretching its arms and legs to capture more. How? They say that a permanent expenditure fund would be created for defense spending, and that would be out of total tax revenue pool. Central government said that we will keep 52% with us of the net tax proceeds, and 48% we will give to states. But this important expenditure fund, this will take its money from this 48%. So states will sponsor the defense spending now. That's really unfortunate, because already there many allegations are there that the defense spendings are not up to satisfactory levels, and we need more and more funds there. And this will likely further reduce the tax revenues distributed to states for their own expenditure. Under the garb of nationalism, they are capturing a lot there, and they are not funding these crucial issues from their own fund. That's really a hypocrisy there. And additionally, this is not stopping here. Additionally, they are now talking about an expenditure council like the GST council. Not only did states lose their taxation powers, but with this idea they will lose its sole spending power too. Means the earning source, they are blocked and they are dependent on the center there. Now the spending power will also be restricted. So for spending also they will need to take allowance there. So this permission is really disrespectful, and this is totally unjustified. And in a very diverse country like India, these things are really very dangerous developments. We became united because it was created a union of states. We did not force. Apart from some examples like the Hyderabad state, Junagadh, we did not try to put force there. All came together because it was a union of states, and we decided to put there these state list, union list and concurrent list there. So some autonomy was there, and provincial autonomy was the main feature of 1935 Government of India Act, and we hailed it. So this is a respect for the regions, this is the respect for a particular linguistic states, this is the respect for the people per se, because this country cannot be run by a government in Delhi. This is really a foolishness to think like that. This is something the writer is saying. He says that an elected chief minister or a state with no discretionary powers to earn or to spend for the people of state can virtually hand over the reins of governance to Delhi, means to the central government there. And this is really a dangerous development, and which is something which can be spread into very dangerous problem. Fiscal federalism tensions between the center and the states, they should never be there, but these are on the peak today. And in the starting, when most of the states, they were ruled by the central party, the BJP party there, but now some differences are coming, and many of the states are complaining about these issues because the kind of new developments which are happening, as I explained to you, the expenditure council and the important defense expenditure fund, these two are really problematic for the states. Only one tangible solution is there, that the states, they are granted the power to levy income tax. So since the birth of the republic, state governments have not had the power to levy income tax on the citizens except for agricultural taxes. So they do not have that power, so they must be allowed for that. And it is foolhardy to think that a council in Delhi can determine all the revenues and the expenditure of the state, each state. This is really foolish a decision, because the days of imperialistic London are over, and this is the era of Gandhinagar, Chennai, Lucknow, Kolkata. Means the regions are important and areas are important, and we must respect their autonomy there. People elect their representatives, and people cannot elect one single prime minister, and this whole country cannot be run by a few people. This is really a truth, and they must accept this truth. Otherwise, we may be heading towards a devastation. So this is all for today. We will meet again tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Keep watching. It was Amit Sani.